Hi, and welcome to the Social Angle, a podcast that helps promo pros gain an edge in the social media realm. I'm digital content director Vinny Driscoll, and on this episode, I am joined by digital marketing expert and CEO of Sherman Social, Margie J. Sherman, to discuss AI and its current and potential future impact on social media. Margie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation. This is one that I think we'll probably be having for years to come.
Long
Talking about
time.
AI. It's a very important topic I think to discuss now that Chat GPT has arrived on the scene. That really was it's made accessible to business owners. So we're going to get into those. I got a bunch of questions for you, and I'm excited for your answers. But before we get started, can you give us a brief intro of who you are and your experience with social media and AI?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm Margie, as you mentioned, and I started out actually in communications research, which I found pairs well with social media. So then got more into the social media field. And I've written effective strategies for Cancer Treatment Centers of America, Kohler Co., Anti Defamation League, Capital One, UPS, and a lot of other businesses. So, very experienced in the social media realm, and started using AI when Facebook and some other ad platforms on social started using AI to improve their ad base. And now with Chat GPT, that's just added a whole other layer, as you mentioned, of artificial intelligence to incorporate into social media. So I do use it quite often with clients, but as we continue the conversation, I will have some warnings around it too, because you just don't want to go full fledged into AI and publish things on social. But yeah, so really happy to be here and happy to discuss how businesses can use artificial intelligence to help their social media strategy.
Absolutely. I searched on Twitter to find somebody with your experience because I have a lot of followers on Twitter. I know there's a lot of experts on Twitter. So I was just searching around to find somebody, preferably outside of my industry, which is the promotional products industry, um, who can really speak to both the social media and the AI aspect of doing business. And I stumbled upon your profile, reached out to you through Twitter, and that's kind of how we connected. Uh,
Mhm.
so um, yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. Again, we're talking about artificial intelligence and its potential impact on social media. Now, AI, it's long been like this buzzword, and it's been
Yes.
around for a long time. You could even go back to Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey back in the 60s,
Yeah.
and then Steven Spielberg had his AI movie that came out in the early 2000s, really talking about artificial intelligence and its potential impact on our lives. Now, this all kind of seemed like movie fodder. This is fiction. This is not something that is going to impact us. Personally, it's only going to really manifest itself in cinema and in entertainment. But then Chad GPT hit the scene earlier this year,
Hmm.
and it really sort of opened the floodgates to you know normal people, everyday people using chat or AI in the form of Chat GPT. Now that business professionals have access to tools like Chat GPT, how do you see it changing the way companies do business?
It's going to change dramatically. We've already seen a lot of changes within corporations that have adopted it. I was just reading a study yesterday, actually. When you think about kind of the sci fi aspect of it and how it's been discussed previously, in this study, actually 55% of the respondents are actually more scared of artificial intelligence than they are open to using it, because it is kind of this weird thing for us to think about as humans. And so I do want to define it first before we get more into the conversation of because my parents, of course, were like, "What is artificial intelligence?" when I was talking to them about it. And it's really the ability of computer systems to perform tasks that normally a human would perform. And so instead of thinking about human intelligence, you're thinking about computer intelligence. And so when we think about that, a lot of people right now are concerned about, well, will this take away my job? Or
Sure.
will this impact things negatively? We'll get into that, but really the benefit and how it will change businesses is it takes out a lot of the time that was put into these processes and repetitive tasks. It can really delete a lot of those. It also can help if you are a business owner and you don't know a ton about social media, but you want to post on it. It can help you ideate for different kinds of social posts. It can help you create those posts. Um, and so it's just really changing. And from a business aspect and not just a social media aspect, it's everywhere from HR systems that are completely automated now, to all the data and analytics being completely automated and the whole customer service experience. So it's really impacting things in a big way and very quickly. And so that's why it's important to learn and educate yourself about it and also learn how to use it safely.
Yes, I agree with what you said there. It's not going to go away. It's kind of like the internet in the mid '90s, mid to late '90s,
Exactly.
where some people were saying this is a fad. This is, it's not going to last. It's going to go away. And
Yeah.
those who really kind of jumped on, the bandwagon at the time are those that really thrived on the internet. And those who kind of deny the impact or the potential of AI now or even in the short term future are going to miss out on the benefits. Now, you mentioned
Absolutely.
a lot of people are scared of it because of
Yeah.
how it could impact their jobs. They could lose their jobs because AI can replace them. Now, I would argue to say that if you jump on AI, you learn it, get familiar with how it works, then you become more of an asset and
Yeah.
you can sort of help yourself, educate yourself, and become more of a proponent of how you can be integrated within the job market of the future where AI is part of
Absolutely.
it. It's not going to it'll replace people, but at the same time it's going to open up the door for a
For
lot
new
of,
jobs.
yeah, for new jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked a little bit there about social media and how it can create content for you. It can create, like, for instance, tweets or posts on
Yeah.
social media. But can you talk a little bit more about how others can use AI in the social media realm?
Absolutely. There are just dozens of options out there. So, one of the ways is to create a brand identity. This is important on social media because you want people to see an image or copy and just identify that as your brand and your tone of voice. And so, one way of doing that is using Logo Joy. That's one of my favorite platforms. It will create a logo for you that's very professional looking. But then it will also create everything from social media posts to banners for your social media sites. All those things that are often hard to make because you have to look up all of
Sure.
those dimensions. So that's one of my favorite things. Also, if we look at Facebook Admin Assist, so that's a tool that helps if you have Facebook groups, it can help you moderate your group without you really having to step in much.
Sure.
And then targeting paid ads. Google just switched their Google ad platform, so there's more ways for business owners to go on and do smart ads where Google takes care of everything for you and they use AI to help you reach a better audience. One of my favorite tools when it comes to social media and AI is SEMrush
Hmm.
because they have their content template. And so I use that whenever I'm writing a blog, and then I pull my social media excerpts from that.
Okay.
And it helps you decide how your SEO is looking, what words you need to incorporate. It helps you with the reading. Can people read this easily, or should you break up paragraphs or change sentences? And one thing I really like about SEMrush is they continue to really build their AI out. So they're continuously putting out new products that are very useful for business owners. It is on the pricier side of
Sure.
AI tools, but it's worth it in the end because you can do so many AI social media things just through that platform. You can streamline market research for your target audience, which is very important to figure out who you're speaking to and where they're at. ChatGPT is a great tool for figuring that out. Creating videos, that's something that can really stop business owners, especially if you're just a one-man team
Hmm.
of trying to figure that out. I love Steve.ai for that,
Okay.
but there's a lot of platforms out there. And creating copy and images through Dolly. I love
Right.
Dolly. Optimizing your post schedule, analyzing your user behavior. You can get strategy advice from a tool like Brandwatch. And this all saves you money in the long run. So, in the same study I referenced earlier, it also mentioned that business owners are seeing a $5 ROI for every dollar spent on AI.
Interesting. Okay.
And a big reason for that is because a lot of AI tools are either free or pretty inexpensive. A lot of the image tools out there are just $5 a month, which is great for a small
Sure.
business owner that doesn't really have a large budget. And so instead of paying an employee to do it or hiring a graphic designer, you can just spend $5 and tell the tool exactly what you're looking for in an image and have it create it for you.
Right. Right. And that's interesting. And that we can make an example there about, okay, so designers, they could be in jeopardy because of these tools that can, these AI tools that can create images exactly how you want them. And, it's not going to be done by a human. It's going to be done by machine learning, by artificial intelligence. So to me, I feel like, there's definitely a lot of baked in AI capabilities in a lot of the tools that you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. So I my gut instinct when this all came about was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to learn like a ton of stuff. But it's not really like that. It's really, you just have to know what tools are out there. There are probably even tools that you currently use. For instance, I use Hootsuite for a lot of my
Love.
scheduling. And
Mm-hmm.
they now have an AI tool that's built into the actual product that will help you come up with tweets
Yep.
that are going to be somewhat in the style of how you do things. Like you can create content, post it, and then say this is sort of the tone that I'm looking for, and it's going to learn from what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is called machine learning. ChatGPT has this function where you can kind of train it in your voice, because a lot of times I think the problems, and we'll talk about the disadvantages of AI soon, but a lot of times people create content in ChatGPT and it's just not in the voice or the tone
Yeah.
that the person speaks in. And some people have gotten in trouble by creating content that is obviously not theirs, even though
Right.
it's got their byline. But I think the biggest fear here is that people are going to have to learn a ton. And I speak for an industry of small business owners who don't really have much time to learn social media, let alone
Right.
having to learn AI. Now, you gave a few examples of how businesses can utilize ASI for social media. You gave a lot of
Mm-hmm.
good examples. So, is there a large learning curve for some of these? Like, for instance, ChatGPT. I know there's a learning curve for that because I've worked in that.
Mm-hmm.
But how much real work is there going to be to integrate AI into somebody's marketing, into their social media?
Yeah, so I'll answer that in a second. I want to go back to Hootsuite real quick and
Sure.
just mention that they also have an Instagram caption creator.
Mm,
So you can create your Instagram captions, which can oftentimes be hard because of all the
sure.
hashtags.
Right. Right.
And also, as a small business, sometimes your username is already taken on social channels. They have a
Right.
username generator as well, which we'll check to make sure that's available. So definitely recommend those two. And one other point with ChatGPT is, yeah, so plagiarism is a huge deal with that
Hmm.
tool specifically. I use a tool called Grammarly that I
Hmm.
love. It ties into all of my emails, social
Sure.
media posts, anything I'm doing, it's there. I have the desktop app and it corrects my grammar,
Right.
but it also checks for plagiarism. So it's a perfect tool if you're concerned that there's plagiarism going on. You can just run your document through there and it will let you know.
So
Um,
AI, so Grammarly has AI
it
integrated into it.
does.
Okay. I did
Yes.
not know that.
Yeah, and it's continuing to also put out new products that are AI based. And if you're concerned about the plagiarism front, especially if you're writing a blog or a longer format, then Jasper.ai is a great alternative to ChatGPT because it is uniquely written compared to ChatGPT, which is just pulling from different sources and giving you
Sure.
verbatim paragraphs. So, but yeah, to answer your question about how hard it is to learn, ChatGPT does have a learning curve, as you mentioned. What I always recommend is a quick Google search for commands based on what you're looking for. And a lot of people have pulled together blog posts or articles on commands that have worked for them. They've done research on it. And you're able to just copy and paste those commands in and find what you're
Can you give me
looking
an
for.
example of what you mean by a command?
Sure, yeah. So instead of asking, like maybe I want to ask GPT to write a blog, and I just say, write a blog about social media and artificial intelligence. Well, it might not give me exactly what I'm looking for when I
Hmm.
say that. And so if I look up commands for this on Google, it would say something like, well, include the number of words you want and include exactly if you want it to define artificial intelligence and just the specifics you should include as you're asking the tool to work for you. Because as we work with artificial intelligence, it's like learning a new language.
Hmm.
We are speaking to a computer and we want it to output something very specific. And so, even with imagery, the commands will help you word how you're asking for a certain image. So, it gives you what you're looking for. So, I just find those to be incredibly helpful. And
Sure.
again, you just search commands, chat GPT, blog post, or image, or whatever you're looking for, and it will come up with a ton of articles for you to read because people have already done this research for you.
Right.
And
Right.
it's a great way to learn. Something like Hootsuite. So I am a big fan of Hootsuite because they
Hmm.
are a veteran in the social media space. They
Hmm.
have so much research proving that they're a great tool to use. Um, what I like about a tool like that or a tool like SEMrush is it's so user intuitive. So you're able to go in and it's not a huge learning curve.
Hmm.
It kind of drives you in the direction you need to go instead
Sure.
of you having to kind of figure things out on your own. Now, if you're looking to build a website or something to that degree, that will take a lot more learning to use the AI
Sure.
that's out there because it's low code to no code, which
Hmm.
means you're not necessarily coding something yourself, which is great for small business owners that
Right.
don't have
Right.
time or that expertise. But you do have to know a little bit more than you would if you're trying to create a social media
Hmm.
post or an image.
Definitely. And that was some great information. I think you definitely touched on some of those pain points of trying to use social AI tools like ChatGPT. There's a learning curve for that. My company actually provides training on ChatGPT,
Love that.
and I think a lot of businesses are also probably doing that as
Yeah.
well, trying to get the employees to understand, hey, it's very important that you learn this. It's going to help you be more marketable in, just the business landscape. If you know a little bit about AI tools like ChatGPT, but also how you can utilize that tool to make the company more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really the gist of this conversation
Mm-hmm.
is we don't want to burden social media users with something else on their plate that's
No.
going to take up more of their time. We want them to understand that even if there's a bit of a learning curve, in the long run, it's going to help you be a better business person by using social media more efficiently. And
Absolutely.
consistency is big. I preach that all the time. If you don't have
Mm-hmm.
much time to post, you know, post when you can, set a schedule, and AI can help you do that. AI can help you create the content. It can help you with the scheduling. There's a lot that AI can do that maybe people are not aware of. Now,
Hmm.
Margie, you mentioned a little bit earlier about plagiarism, which is obviously a disadvantage of
Yes.
AI. We can kind of go doom and gloom and say AI is going to be our overlords one day. They're going to take over humanity. But what do you see as the disadvantages of using AI in the short term?
Yeah. So when we think about computers or we think about, sci-fi and robots and all of that kind of stuff we've seen in movies, the thing that's lacking is common sense. And so AI does not have common sense built in.
Hmm.
It's going to literally give you what you literally tell it to give you. And so one of the disadvantages is, you do need to spend the time to validate the information that it gives you, to really take a look at the image it spits out or the video and ensure that it's what you're looking for,
Hmm.
because it doesn't know that. It can't guess intuitively what you're looking for in
Sure.
that sense. There's also an algorithmic bias. So, whether developers mean to or not, their biases can come through in the software that they're creating, which can end up giving you content that you're not really looking
Mm.
for, or give you something that's a little more biased than you were looking for. So, it's important to just be aware of that,
Hmm.
and really search the content for that. Of course, there's ethical and legal issues, which the US is way behind on compared to other countries.
Huh? Really?
So, even Elon Musk signed a letter to have more regulation around AI in the United States. A lot of people signed it. Nothing happened with the letter, and now Musk is creating a new AI extension of Twitter. So,
Huh?
you can tell that it's not really being regulated as much here.
Right.
And so that will become an issue and could become an issue, especially when you get into a healthcare space or a legal space, and just that misinformation piece. So, again, it's literally giving you things. And so it might not know that that actually doesn't make sense or that's not the right answer.
Hmm.
And so it's important to look at it for that. And then lastly, data privacy. We've seen this with Facebook and a lot of social media networks that have been sued over this. But with AI in particular, it's important when you're working with it to make sure that you're not stepping on the data rights of your customers,
Mm.
and make sure that you're using it in an ethical way, since there aren't those guardrails yet in the United States.
Right. Right. And that I think that's big, and also the misinformation. And we've already seen the misinformation through ChatGPT. For instance, I queried it and I asked it, like, my name, and who is Vincent Driscoll, and it gave me back information that was incorrect. And you very like, it said I was vice president of something at this company. And I'm not, and I'm like, okay, that's factually incorrect. And
Right.
it's very simple for ChatGPT to make mistakes like that,
Yeah.
because perhaps you're not giving it enough information when you're querying it. So the
Hmm.
misinformation is kind of dicey to me. It can be a little bit scary, especially if information comes back that is, it crosses wires with your name and somebody else who is potentially, a criminal. And it's like, oh, there's, it kind of gets weird. But
It
also
does.
also in the imagery, I feel like the image misappropriation is going to be a problem coming up, where people can
Yep.
just grab an image of you, of me, because our images are out there on social media. It's on the internet. People can grab those images and create AI that looks
And
like it's you doing things that are not you.
yes,
And to me, I feel like we're on the precipice of that becoming, I think, a problem going forward.
I
Uh,
agree.
there's going to be people using it for bad reasons, and
Yeah.
that makes me nervous. I definitely feel like that makes me nervous. But we're all aware that this could be a problem. So
Yeah. And I
we.
think a positive of the imagery is there's a tool called Remini that is an
Mhm.
app, And something I love about that, especially for entrepreneurs and small business owners, is sometimes, a headshot session can cost you a grand or
Right.
more. And if you just take 7 selfies, it can create a variety of headshots for you that you can use across your social media
Sure.
platforms, on your LinkedIn. You have to be careful because some look like obviously AI generated, but
Definitely.
some work. And so that's another tool that you can use that way. But again, yeah, you can definitely use that in a dangerous way as well. Other people can.
Yeah, I used a tool a couple months ago. It cost me like 15 bucks, and it rent. I uploaded. I think it wanted like 8 or 10 pictures of me, fairly recent, so that it generated about 100 pictures of me. It took about 24 hours, 15 bucks, and it came back with all these really interesting. I'm going to use the word interesting, um, headshots, and a lot of them were really like I was like, I can't tell that that's not me.
Yeah.
Others were like, all right, this is weird. This doesn't look anything like me. I could
Yeah.
see a potential likeness, but like 15 bucks, and I got all these like really nice
Great.
headshots that I
Yeah.
could. And if you're thinking about setting up social media for your business, you want to represent your brand as you, but you don't have headshots. 15 bucks, it's really it's not expensive to get some of this stuff done,
No.
and it looks good. I
Hmm.
will say there are some creepy images. I've seen creepy videos. We've generated some really creepy videos
Yes.
from AI, but it's only going to get better. And to me, I feel like this is definitely part of the future, and people should take it seriously for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do have a question on LinkedIn
Sure.
from Muzamil Cameron. He says, "Can we give emotion to AI? The human element is missing." He says at the end, it's a bot. I
Yeah,
guess it
to a
it is
degree.
kind. Yeah, to a degree, yes, it is a bot. But do you see us giving emotion to chat or something like ChatGPT going in into the future?
Yeah, so I don't see it being as good as, a human, of course, and their emotion, but we've already seen some things like sentiment that's measured and researched that
Hmm.
shows some sort of emotion. And I do see that being integrated into Chat GPT. I think even now you can integrate some emotion depending on the query you use.
Sure.
You can even say like write a blog post in the tone of Sherman Social
Right.
or in the tone of Margie Sherman, and it will write it the way I would write a blog post.
Sure.
Not perfectly, but to some degree. So, great question. I do think that they will continue to advance on that, but I don't think it will ever reach where it's, human emotion
Right.
directly.
Right. To the point where it's HAL in 2001, Space Odyssey, where
Right.
the actual robot takes over. It's got emotions. It feels jealousy and all that. Like, no, but if, like you said, you can go into ChatGPT and you could teach it. Hey, this is my tone. It's machine learning. It's learning how you would write an article, how you would respond, how you would write a tweet, how you would potentially write a blog post. Like it learns your style.
Yep.
That's not to say it's taking on emotion. It's just learning your emotion. It's learning how you potentially would write those things.
Exactly.
So yes, that's where we're at today. Where are we at in 5 years? We don't know yet. So that's down the
Stay
line.
tuned.
All right, Marge, I got one last question. What final advice would you give any small business owner or entrepreneur who is looking to add AI to their marketing mix? They don't have a ton of time, but
Yeah.
they really want to jump into this. What would you tell them?
Absolutely. So, with larger corporations, which I understand we aren't, but they are actually hiring people that are just AI focused. So, they have one AI expert on their team. In lieu of that, I think small business owners should take courses and educate themselves, especially on the data and analytics side of things, if they don't understand that already, because that is the core of AI and using it and understanding it. And there are courses that are I think LinkedIn even has a course, but they're pretty short. You don't have to spend a ton of time with them, but they're very educational to help you. What I mentioned before, review and validate all of your AI. Make sure that it's accurate. Check it for plagiarism with Grammarly. And SEMrush also checks for plagiarism. So great way to check for it. And monitor the feedback. So if you're suddenly getting comments from customers that are negative, or they're questioning an image, or they're questioning a post, then your AI really isn't working for you. You need to go back to your commands and your queries and learning how you're speaking to it. I wouldn't say, like, if all of your AI posts, well, first off, I would test it. So I would do an AI post and a post that you wrote and kind of test them against each other.
Sure.
Facebook is a great place to start with that. And let's say the AI one does not perform well. That doesn't necessarily mean AI isn't working for you. It might just mean that you need more education around it, or you need to have more personal queries with ChatGPT or other tools that you're using.
Sure. That makes total sense. Margie, thank you for your time today. This has been a really great conversation, one that I think we're going to continue to have in the months and years to come.
Yes.
We're going to touch base on where we're going, where we're at. How can anyone get a hold of you if they want to connect?
Sure, yeah. My email is Margie, MARJI, at shermansocial.com. You can also check out my website for tons of social media tips and tricks at shermansocialmedia.com.
And she's on Twitter. That's how I
Yes.
found you. I believe it's
Margie J. Sherman.
Margie J. Sherman. Well, Margie, again, thank you for your time today. I know we're all busy. We all have jobs and lives, but this 30 minutes has been eye-opening for sure. I know that AI is not going away, and that's kind of the angle I wanted on this. You got to take it serious. It's part of our lives now, and it's going to continue to have a bigger part of our lives. You might as well get on.
You
Yeah,
embrace it.
You might as well seize the day and get on board. Don't fight it, because you'll end up like those who thought the internet was going to be nothing, and they're stuck in the Stone Ages. But anyway, Margie, again, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Enjoyed it. Bye.